Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Today we're going to talk about the apparent ability or technology that the non-human intelligent presence on Earth has to make themselves invisible, to make themselves appear like they're not there to human beings. Apparently this is something that they have the ability to do, and you have to wonder, how many times have any of us been out and about, and these creatures are all around us, or perhaps one of them at least is looking at us and we don't even realize that they're there because they're using some sort of invisibility power, and we can't see them. As insane as it might sound to some people out there, it really shouldn't, because actually we, the human beings, have abilities to make ourselves look invisible, and we're developing more and more technology in that line as time moves forward. So we would have to imagine that some advanced race of beings must have figured something out in this vein a long time ago, and apparently they have. I mean, there's enough evidence now that I think it's pretty clear that these beings, in addition to making their craft invisible at times, they can make themselves invisible. And you have to wonder, like when you're taking a walk in the woods, or when you're out and about, when you're in your backyard for all you know, and if there's trees out there, how do you know if these two creatures could make themselves invisible? How would you know that one of them might be looking at you? You won't know. You wouldn't know if they're there or not, because you couldn't see them unless you have a real sharp eye like some people have. I'll talk first about that incident from 2010. I've talked about this one before, that involved Jan Maccabee. Jan Maccabee is the wife of the late Bruce Maccabee, the optical physicist and UFO researcher. He passed away last year. But back in 2010, she was out bow hunting near her home in Ohio, and she saw something strange in a tree. Something like it was invisible. There was something there, something moving around. It moved from one tree branch to another, but it was like invisible. It was like something out of the movie Predator from the 1980s with Arnold Schwarzenegger. She was able to snap a picture of whatever this thing was, but later on, her husband, when he looked at this picture, he realized that it had an impossible resolution, a resolution that the camera did not offer. I'm showing the picture now, and you can see it's a blurry mess. You can't see anything. And what was really strange about it, that resolution was 66% less. Was 66% lower than the highest resolution that the camera offered, and when I talked about this over a year ago initially, that lines up with what happened with the Las Vegas alien video, particularly the face that appears above the fence. As we all know, Scott Roeder, the crime scene reconstruction expert, when he looked at that, him and his team looked at that section of the video with where that face appears above the fence. For some reason, inexplicably, 66% of the pixels were deleted in that area, and that lines up with what happened with Jan Maccabee back in 2010. So for some reason, these creatures at times, I mean, who knows if they're able to go completely invisible, but in those two instances, it seems like they're able to reduce the ability of the camera to pick up their image by 66% somehow. That's why when you see the face above the fence, you could see something there. It looks like a face very fleetingly, but for some reason, 66% of the pixels were missing. So that's why you don't see the full thing. That's why it seems transparent. It's incredible, but that's that's the ability that these creatures have. And there are other cases like this, and that's what I want to talk about today. There's a couple other cases that I dug up that I think are very interesting. And one of them right here, the first one, was from humanoid encounters on Reddit. And this was something that happened, this was actually posted 8 years ago on here. And this is what it says. This is written by a person who goes by the handle Tens Sand Shoes. It says, "Would just like to start by saying that I am new to Reddit and this is my first post, so please bear with me if I am not doing this right. This story I am about to share is actually why I joined Reddit on my quest to find out if this has happened to anyone else. This is 100% true and is really hard for me to share because anytime I have tried to tell someone else about it, I get laughed at and accused of just trying to pull their leg." Now, let me just stop there for a second. Hasn't that happened to a lot of us out there who have had experiences? How many times have I been laughed at over the years? I've been laughed at a great number of times over the decades, I can tell you that, folks, but I don't care. I really, really don't care at this point. I know that my experiences, my personal experiences, as well as a lot of experiences that other people talk about, are real. There's something really here with us, and we know that now for a fact. So the people who should be laughing is us at the people who aren't accepting this. But anyway, let's get back to this story. It says, I recently seen an article about a woman who was hunting and seen an invisible cloaked creature that she described as almost like a predator from the movie of the same name. I read her story and seen the picture she took of said predator. I guess now I'm wondering, this is the Jan Maccabee story. Now, this post was from 8 years ago, but the only time I didn't read any articles about Jan Maccabee was that was actually it was a segment that story itself was featured as one of the segments in the Missing 911 The Hunted. It was a documentary from filmmaker David Paulides, and that came out in 2019. So this post is from 8 years ago. So that would have been that documentary came out after this post was made, but I'm assuming this is the story that she's talking about when she mentions that. Anyway, it continues. It says, now, as for her picture, I personally think it's a combination of flare from the sun and a close-up of possibly her face or something. I am not dismissing her story, though, actually quite the opposite, since I too have encountered something similar, and is what prompted me to seek out if anyone else has encountered a predator in the woods. Now to my encounter. Now this is extremely interesting here, folks, I gotta say. When I was about 5 years old, I was playing by the edge of the woods behind my grandmother's house. I played there often, and my grandma just kept an eye on me from the kitchen or living room because the house had huge windows that faced the woods. She would come out every once in a while just to see what I was up to. I was obsessed with digging in the dirt and collecting unusual rocks and arrowheads that littered the land where my grandmother lived. I should mention this is Midwest Illinois, not too far from Cahokia Mounds, so finding arrowheads was actually not that uncommon. Anyway, that day I remember picking out a spot to dig. I had been out there for quite a while because I remember I had a pretty decent-sized hole going when something caught my eye up in the tree that I was next to. I almost don't know how to explain it, but it looked like almost a heat wave coming off the branch of the tree. It was fall. I remember this because I had my pink jacket on and remember thinking that my mom was going to be pissed because I had dirt around the bottom of the arms from digging. I also remember there being a lot of leaves on the ground. Anyway, I am staring at this heat wave and I realize it has a human shape. So here I am, 5 years old, and wondering why there is an invisible man in the tree. I remember feeling scared but unsure what to do. Then it started moving and making a faint clicking sound. That is about the time that I decided that I was not supposed to be seeing this, and I hightailed it back to the house. My grandmother seen I was pretty shaken, and I remember telling her that I just seen an angel. In my 5-year-old mind, I didn't know what else it could be. I had never heard of aliens or ghosts or monsters, so to me it had to be an angel because that's all my little mind could think of. Let me just stop there for a second. That reminds me somewhat of what I was thinking back in the late 1970s when I woke up in the middle of the night and there was one of these creatures in my room. I thought it was something from hell. That's what I thought, and I thought that for about 10 years. So I could understand completely why this person thought something in the same vein, except I thought it was something out of hell. She thought it was an angel. Anyway, continuing. Fast forward to when I am about 12 years old. By this time, the encounter was way out of my mind. I loved watching action and sci-fi movies. My dad rented a movie called Predator. I am watching it with him, and the first time you see the Predator invisible/cloaked, I about blanked my pants. All the memories from that day digging in the dirt came flooding back. I even asked my dad if Predator was real or if he knew of anyone or any animal that had cloaking ability that I did not know about. He told me it was all fake. It wasn't like it is today where I could just Google it. I had no access to the internet, so again, I just put it out of my mind. Again, fast forward to about the year 2004. I am grown. I have 3 small children. I just went through a separation from my husband. I moved to the next town over to an apartment with my kids. These apartments are all one-level duplexes, with there being 5 buildings. I am at the very last apartment of the last building. The apartments are considered in town, but are on the outskirts. There is a deep ditch that runs behind the buildings with a chain link fence that separates the backyard from the ditch. There are about 6 to 7 trees on our side of the fence. If you follow the ditch a little bit, you hit a small forest that eventually leads to the country with a larger forest and farmland. I am a smoker, but would not smoke in the apartment because of the kids, so I often went out to the back porch. One night I was up late doing laundry and stuff after the kids went to bed. I decided to take a smoke break before I myself went to sleep. I am back there on the porch porch and I started hearing this faint clicking sound. I immediately looked to the ditch because I had seen a groundhog out there a few days before and thought perhaps he was out there again. The yard is faintly lit from the outside light that is by the playground that is to the right of my back porch. I didn't turn on the porch light. I didn't normally if I was just going out for a quick smoke. I didn't see any groundhog or movement from the ditch, so I go back to smoking my cigarette. The faint clicking sound keeps happening, and a slight shift of movement makes me look up into the tree to the left of my porch. It's there. The same invisible thing I had seen when I was 5. It is like a distortion and in a humanoid shape. It is crouched down on the branch with an arm out, holding onto the trunk of the tree. I could not believe it. I was like, is this happening? Has it came to kill me from me seeing it all those years ago? All I could think about was my kids in the apartment sleeping. I ran in and slammed and locked the door. I ran to the kids' rooms and made sure all the windows were locked. Then I just turn out the lights in the living room and stare out the blinds at the tree to see if I could catch another glimpse of it. I sat there for about a good 10 minutes. I couldn't see anything. I began to think that I'm just tired and my mind was playing tricks on me. Just as I was finally talking myself down, my neighbor's dog comes running across the yard and starts barking at the tree at the same branch that I had seen this predator thing. That pretty much freaked me out because this dog was not a barker. I actually have never heard him bark at anything, even at the groundhog that had been hanging out at the ditch. This barking went on for a few minutes until I hear the neighbor lady who owns the dog call him back inside. The dog reluctantly turned to go back home, stopping every few feet to look back at the branch of the tree until he was out of my sight. I didn't sleep that night and have never seen anything like it again. I don't know what to think of it. I am a grown woman. I have kids and a good career. I just want to know if anyone else has ever had an experience like this. I know what I saw, believe it or not. Thanks for taking the time to read this. Okay. Let's just talk about this for a second. Obviously, this is a very, very, very compelling story. To me, sounds very believable. And of course, you don't know what you're getting when you get on the internet, but this sounds like something that could have happened because you know what? We have evidence that these kinds of things happen. We have that evidence now, folks, whether you believe it or not. I know a lot of people out there still have trouble believing it. I mean, you look at what happened we were just talking recently about the Compton alien. For some reason, right, there are three security cameras on that house, the house where Jessica Ortiz lives, right, in Compton, California. We just talked about this the other day. Okay, 3 cameras, right? For some reason, the camera out front didn't go off. The camera out back didn't go off. The camera in the middle goes off, and we get a quick little glimpse of something walking by the side of her house. But for some reason, when it walked into the back of the house, the camera in the back of the house didn't go off, but you heard the gate slamming shut. That's what we heard. There was a noise with the gate slamming shut. Let's just run the video real quick here. Check it out. So, you have. Why didn't the camera go off when the creature at some point would have had to been in front of the house, right? For some reason, the camera didn't go off. The camera that was facing the front of the house did not go off. Only that one on the side porch did, and then the camera in the back didn't go off. Did it just appear out of nowhere, perhaps? Was it invisible, and then it became visible for a few seconds as it walked by the house and then became invisible again? Because this is the kind of stuff that when you look at the Las Vegas alien video, which I believe is the best proof we've ever had in this world of a non-human intelligent presence on this planet. When you look at that, there's aliens, creatures, non-human intelligent beings appearing, disappearing, materializing, dematerializing. It happens throughout that 1 minute and 41 second long video. And now we had the Compton alien video, the same kind of thing. We've been looking recently at this incident from 2022 in South Carolina. We were talking about that recently, where there was something in a tree, shaking in a tree. You can't see anything, but in some now, just recently, one of my subscribers, John Hobart, found what could be something in the tree shaking it, some sort of weird looking creature, but you can't see it at all times. When you shine a light on it, that's not there. And then when you shine the light away, he brightened up a spot and you could see something there. It looks like there could be some kind of a creature there. Well, here's the thing, folks. This is something that this is really happening. These kinds of stories are True stories. I think a lot of them. I think this one here that we're reading on Reddit, even though it was posted by somebody anonymously, I think that this jibes with other things that have happened. I think that this is probably a true story. But the bottom line is that we true or not, right? The bottom line is this kind of stuff happens. This kind of stuff happens. We have evidence of it now, right? These creatures can make themselves invisible. For all you know, when you're out in if you have a backyard, I have it in my backyard. There's some trees around there. If they're in a tree, you might not see them. You might. There's a chance there could be something in the tree. You wouldn't see it. You wouldn't even notice it. Right, unless you're like staring intently, maybe, and you might notice something, based on some of the reports by other people, like Jan Maccabee and this anonymous person on Reddit. A very, very similar case. Now, here was another case. Now, that case there apparently took place back in the early 1980s. I'm assuming because this person, she posted this thing back in 8 years ago, so that would have been 2017. And then apparently this happened when she was younger. The first time she saw it, she was 5 years old. So, and then Predator didn't. I don't think that was released until 1987 when she and her dad rented it. So who knows? That could have been 88 or 89. So maybe in the early 80s this incident happened. She doesn't specify, so that's what I'm assuming. But here's another incident that happened in 1965, and this is also from Humanoid Encounters. This was just posted about a month ago, or a little less than a month ago. It says, Lucia on High's encounter with small aliens, including a bizarre projection/hologram in Brazil. This happened in October 18th to 19th, 1965. Mrs. Lucia Anhaya, wife of Mr. Dario Anhaya, owner of Fazenda San Luis, that's a farm property, Fazenda means farm, reported an unusual UFO experience. The moon was already disappearing over the horizon when she saw an orange light approaching the farmhouse at the height of the treetops. She didn't hear any noise, but as the light approached, she noticed a pleasant aroma, which she attributed to the emanation of local flora. The luminous object then landed in the cattle pen on the other side of the road, but it never touched the ground. It remained in the air, hovering half a meter above the ground, oscillating in a pendulum back and forth motion. Lucia, who was accompanied by a boy named Dorino, approached the gate of the cow pen from where she could distinguish the conical configuration of the object, which was 3 to 4 meters in diameter at the base by 3 meters in height. From one side of the object, a tube measuring approximately 1.2 meters in length protruded. The device radiated luminous sparks around it. Next to the object was a small man, perhaps 1.2 meters tall, which is about 3.5 feet tall. As Lucia watched from 40 meters away, she couldn't see his face, but she noticed that the little man was wearing a small gray veneer coat with little white spots the size of beans, with a stripe on the front. He didn't seem to have anything on his head. His hands were very small. The little man walked a little around the cattle, which remained indifferent, and headed toward a mango tree 50 meters away. Suddenly, he disappeared from her sight, and the object also left. 5 minutes later, the object returned, descending at the same point, and another small crew member emerged, this one wearing a white shirt, apparently starched, and chocolate-colored pants. This new entity she was able to see more closely, noticing his thin nose and delicate facial features. According to Lucia, he had a very cute face. The little man went back and forth 5 times to a nearby jurabiba tree, taking an armful of branches to the object each time. Lucia hid with the little boy so as not to be seen on the road at night. The object also did not want to show itself and hid behind some bushes, while the crew member mysteriously disappeared only to reappear shortly afterward. This went on for about 5 minutes, after which the object left the area. Then another truly exciting spectacle began. About 2 kilometers away, 2 identical luminous objects appeared in the sky, equidistant 2,000 meters apart. One of them, the one on the left, directed a beam of light at one of the wooden piles by the shed next to the house, and, for 2 or 3 minutes, an image was projected there, as if in a mirror or screen, of a little man looking fixedly at the house, sitting forward with its arms bent as if he were sitting at the steering wheel of a vehicle. The little man had fair skin, a bald head, and was wearing a cream-colored coverall. According to Lucia, she didn't like this little man because his features reminded her of a person she did not like. The boy approached the image and placed his hand about 20 centimeters from the woodpile, blocking the projection, and the corresponding shadow appeared in the image. When the projection stopped, the same device projected a horizontal light beam toward the other object. The beam, which had vertical lines as if it were a ladder lying down, grew in length until it reached the other object on the right. When it hit this object, there was an explosion and an extremely bright flash, and both objects and the beam of light disappeared. Strangely, at the same moment, all the kerosene lamps in the house went out for a little while. Not even the battery-powered flashlights worked, and what's even stranger, even the matches didn't light up. Later, it was found that all the asbestos covers on the lamps had ruptured. Very strange case. But I thought what was interesting about it was that some kind of a creature, first he was seeing these alien creatures, two different alien creatures exit a craft, and then those craft disappeared. Then these other two craft she sees, and then all of a sudden, one of these creatures, different kind of creatures, getting projected, or like a holograph in front of her house, like it's looking in the house. Like, what's that all about? What's going on? Are we being spied on by these alien beings? That want to use invisibility or create what I can't even explain this story here. This is beyond invisibility. They're talking about a projection. This was a projection. So do they project different things to other places? And from the projections, could they see things? I mean, like from what this sounds like. Okay, it sounds like there was a figure getting projected right near their house from a different craft. And it was looking in the house. The creature that they saw in the projection was looking in the house. Was the creature really there, or was it someplace else and the projection was able to see it? I don't know, but it really sounds weird to me, the whole story. I guess the bottom line is this, is that these beings have the ability to make themselves invisible. And one of the cases that I talk about involving myself was the third incident. Now, the first two, I'm certain that involved non-human intelligence, right? When I was a kid, the creature in the bedroom, there's no doubt, right? And then, of course, seeing the UFO up close back in the mid-1990s, along with another witness, there's no question, right? The third instance, when I was in Hawaii back in 2007, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it, but it wouldn't surprise me. Let's put it this way. It wouldn't surprise me if it involved aliens using invisibility. And that's why I couldn't understand what happened that day. And basically what happened was I went out to, at this time, I had two dogs, right? I just got this other dog at the time, and this dog was really wild. And where I lived at in Hawaii was basically in the middle of nowhere. And I had all the houses in this area. It was on the Big Island, on the Hilo side of the Big Island, on the east side of the Big Island. And it was like a tropical rainforest area where I lived. And basically my house was, on stilts because it rained so much there. It would be real heavy rains, then it would stop. It was a beautiful place, but you had a lot of the houses there were built on stilts because of the flooding issues that would occur. But anyway, I had to cut the grass, and to cut the grass on this property, you had to use a weed whacker. You couldn't use a lawnmower because it was lava rock and it was all rugged. And, there would be weeds popping up here and there. You'd have to, cut them with the weed whacker a couple times a week. So I went out on one Saturday after late morning, it was like around 11 o'clock in the morning, something like that, to cut the grass. But I had to bring this dog that I didn't have her long. Her name was Goldie. And she was a mutt. She was a pretty big dog though. She was part Jack Russell Terrier and part something I don't know what. And but she wasn't a small dog. She was somewhat medium sized, but she was wild and I was in the process of trying to train her at the time, and and I brought her outside with me because I didn't want to leave her in the house when I was using the weed whacker, because she'll just go wild, because you tear the place up if I did that. So I brought her outside, and I had this really long chain. So I connected one end of the chain to her collar, and I took the other end and wrapped it around one of the stilts that held up the house, right? Wrapped it around and clicked it into one of the links, right? And so I proceeded then to start cutting the grass, and the dog's going wild, pulling on the chain. And I saw the dog. I went under the house to hit a couple of weeds under the house. And I looked at the dog. I saw the dog. And a few seconds later, I turned around. The dog and chain completely gone. And I just thought she was freaked out because of the sound of the weed whacker. And she broke the chain somehow and got away. So I stopped what I was doing, of course. And I'm looking for the dog. Can't find her anyway. anywhere, right? And all around the house, like around the perimeter of the house, was all this low to the ground vegetation, right? It wasn't really tall. It was like this low to the ground jungle, really dense. I mean, it was very difficult to move through. And I thought maybe she ran in there. She might be on the perimeter somewhere. I looked everywhere in there. I couldn't find her. Could not find her anywhere. Was looking for like at least an hour, right? And I could not find her. I went out to the road. There was a dirt road that led up to my house. It was like 2 or 3 miles to the highway from where I was. And she's nowhere to be found. And it got to the point where I started becoming concerned, thinking maybe she ran all the way down the dirt road and somebody picked her up and dropped her off at the pound, right? So I actually, about a little over an hour after she disappeared and I couldn't find her anywhere, I actually took a ride to the kennel and I went in there and asked if anybody dropped the dog off, and they said no. So then I went back to my house and I started looking around again. Could not find her. By this point, she was gone. She was missing for about 2.5 hours. So I continued looking for her, calling her name. She's not anywhere to be found. And then I just finally gave up. I sat down on the steps and was like, I'm not going to find her. I don't know where she must be scared of the sound of a weed whacker. Right when I sat down on the steps here in a spot that I had just looked at number of times just previously, right in front of me, in this dense brush, she rises up, right, and there she is, and she comes walking out of this brush, and she still has a chain on her, and so I just figured the other end she must have pulled it up hard enough that it broke off or something, but to my surprise, the chain was still in the loop. Like I put it around this, I wrapped it around this, the post that was holding the house up and then clicked it into the link. It was still like that somehow, right? And I couldn't figure that out. I was thinking, wait a minute, is there a space somewhere along this post that where this loop went through? So I'm looking at the post that where I tied it to, and I was like, it couldn't have been that because it goes into the ground, right? It's holding up the house, right? So there's no space on it. And then I started thinking to myself, well, maybe I just thought that I did that. So I started looking at other places where I might have tied it up, but there was no place. No, there was nowhere along where I would have tied that chain up. There was no other place. Every place, if I would have, it would have been, there was no space for that loop to go through. So I couldn't figure it out. In fact, it troubled me so much that for at least a week, 2 weeks after that incident, I would get home from work and I would just go over the whole thing again, trying to figure out this mystery. And I never did. I never figured it out. And I remember even at the time thinking, because I just heard this story about night marchers, that these ghosts that roam the big island of Hawaii. I even wondered about that. I was like, I wonder if ghosts are responsible. All kinds of ideas. But then I remember it was some point after that, I remember reading about Skinwalker Ranch and some of the weird things that would happen out there, where things, like in addition to UFO sightings and weird creatures showing up, there was poltergeist activity. And that's what I thought. I wonder if that was aliens maybe. So I wonder now if there's something, if NHI were responsible, then they took the dog away for 2.5 hours and then returned it. Because I didn't see anything. You have to understand, I was in the middle of nowhere. It was a bright sunny day, beautiful out, and I could see in all directions, right, pretty much, because again, it was low to the ground brush. The dog wasn't listening. I wasn't responding to my cries for her to come home. And then finally, there she was, in a spot that I had looked at a number of times before I left. And then when I got back, I looked in the same spot again. She wasn't there. And all of a sudden, here she comes rising out like nothing happened. And she was unusually calm, I have to say, too. Very strange incident. I don't have an explanation for it. But then again, I think about some of the weird stuff that happened to me in the years previous, and I have to wonder. I wonder if they were just playing some kind of a game here. I mean, for all we know, maybe it abducted the dog and put an implant in the dog too. Who knows? Who knows what they're doing? Who knows what they're doing to us? But obviously, what they're doing is they're spying on us somehow. They're looking at us from treetops, staring at us in some instances, like a couple of things we just talked about here. Obviously, there's something going on here. They obviously would have this kind of ability. It shouldn't be a surprise. We're working on invisibility technology, as there's stuff that we have right now, right? So you would have to think that something that's 10,000, 100,000, a million years more advanced than we are would obviously have this kind of technology, and obviously they do. They obviously can make themselves invisible. They can make themselves seem like they're not there, even when they could be sitting right in front of you. They could be in your backyard when you're having a cookout looking at it. You wouldn't even know it. As crazy as it sounds. Anyway, moving on. I want to get caught up on some of the recent Spotify polls. I'm pretty far behind on here. Yeah, I guess we'll start with the episode. Is the NHI UFO phenomenon a nuts and bolts thing or something else? I asked this question. Are NHI craft manufactured objects, or are they temporary conjured built out of thin air by an unseen consciousness that's always been here? Okay, now this was a question inspired by the recent interview that I had with Christopher Knoll, who wrote the book Homegrown Monsters, where his theory is, his hypothesis is that there's this challenger consciousness here that's been here the whole time, and that's what's responsible for sightings of UFOs and non-human intelligence. If you haven't seen that episode, I highly recommend it. It was a very good interview, I thought. But anyway, let's see. 29 votes so far with 16 days left. Okay, 9 people or 31% say it's consciousness conjured. That explains NHI craft. While the majority, 20 people or 69%, say it's manufactured. I'm going with the majority on this one. I even though I do think that I do really like Christopher Knoll's hypothesis, at the same time, I do think that my opinion is they're coming from other planets. Maybe that I'll be shown to be wrong at some point, but I think that's where they're coming from. I think there's probably all different sorts of beings that stop by here, and in addition to the ones that we all know about, like the Greys and the reptilians and the insectoids, right? They're all part of some sort of a effort, some team that they're part of. But I personally think that all the craft that people see, they're manufactured objects. That's what I think. I think that they disappear, they could reappear. It seems like magic to us because they're using technology that's so far beyond anything that we have that it looks like magic. And so I think that's the explanation. Okay, what's the next one here? For the episode, Coltart says the Tic Tac is man-made / Oumuamua 2.0 is way larger / Mazel orb video released. I asked this question. Is the Tic Tac UFO witnessed in 2004 a Lockheed Martin device, or is it NHI built? 33 votes so far with 18 days left. Okay, 11 people or 33.3% say NHI craft. 9 people or 27.3% say Lockheed Martin device, and the majority, 39.4% or 13, say need more information. You know what? I don't think personally, if I'm going with NHI craft. I'm not gonna go with the majority. I'm gonna go with the middle one here. NHI craft. I think it's an NHI craft. I think that Ross got some bunk information. That's what I think. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's just my opinion. I don't believe it. I think whoever gave him that information was issuing a lie to him. That's my opinion. Okay, for the episode, Deep State UFO Disinformation versus Cold Hard Facts. I asked this question. Have you or anyone you know personally ever witnessed a Tic Tac, oval, or egg-shaped UFO? 30 votes so far with 19 days left. 12 people or 40% say yes, while 18 people or 60% say no. So that's still a pretty good number there. 40 people or 40%, 12 people are saying that they or someone they know have witnessed a Tic Tac, oval, or egg-shaped UAP. See, this is a lot of people see these things, and I don't think that they're. I don't believe that they are. I don't think that they're man-made. In fact, you know what? There's something here, now to come to think of it. Here was something else from Reddit. This was from UFO Reddit. This is from just today. I saw this. Look at this. This was an object that was sighted in Pennsylvania, Wycombe, Pennsylvania, back in March 1967. And just like the Tic Tac, this thing has appendages too. It says alleged UAP sighting very similar to the Tic Tac. It also had appendages sticking out of it, and I'm showing this drawing here, right there. It shows you what this object looked like, very similar to the Tic Tac. And here's what it says about it. It says, in March 1967, Don Anderson of Wycombe, Pennsylvania, witnessed in daylight a gigantic zeppelin hanging motionless among the clouds. The craft had a black rectangular opening running along the side with 6 booms protruding from the top. These may have been some type electrical discharge devices associated with the propulsion system of the vehicle. The craft also featured 2 riveted seams similar in appearance to those used on a large boiler from a steam engine. So that object back in 1967 looked like it was just hanging there in the sky, not making any sound, and it was totally motionless. And it looks very, very similar to the Tic Tac. And I could say this: I do not believe that we had Tic Tac technology in 1967, nor do I believe that we had it in 2004. So that's where I stand on this one. I think my opinion is it's non-human intelligent operated craft. That's my opinion. Okay, for the episode similarities between 2013 Florida backyard alien encounter and 2023 Vegas alien incident revealed, I asked this question: are people better off learning the truth about NHI on their own, or should the government inform everybody of the reality? 19 votes so far with 21 days left. Okay, 7 people, or 36.8%, say they should figure it out on their own, while the majority, 12 people or 63.2%, say the government should tell them. Yeah, I go with the majority, but unfortunately, I think it's going to remain. They're going to figure it out on their own, because I'm just not sure if the government's ready to spill the beans on this one yet. I think the people in control, the people who operate the secrecy group, I think they're very, very concerned about the implications of spilling the beans. They don't care about people like me out here talking about this, or anybody, right? Just as long as it's not official. If it comes, and when this information comes from somebody who's official, that's when people will finally believe it. It's unfortunate that's the way it is, but like I've been trying to tell people here, the government isn't going to tell you the truth. I don't think they can tell you the truth. I don't think they got the balls to tell the truth for a lot of different reasons. So you're going to have to. I mean, you could live wearing blinders for the rest of your life, right? And go on believing that there's nothing here, that we're all alone. There is no other intelligent presence here among us. You could think that, but you're living in a fantasy land, just as I indicated in the previous episode. So, yeah, I think the government should tell. Unfortunately, I think a lot of people are, you're probably better off at this moment in time figuring it out on your own. Okay, for the episode Interview with Compton Alien Witness Jessica Ortiz, I asked this question: what was an NHI being doing in Compton in June? 27 votes so far. Okay, one person, or 3.7%, says disclosing its existence. 4 people, or 14.8%, says abductions. 6 people, or 22.2%, say landed for repairs, while the majority, 16 people, or 59.3%, say other. There might have been other reasons that it was there. Okay, I don't know. I think it was, you know what? I don't know. I really don't know. I think I'm gonna have to go with the majority here, other, because I don't know what it was doing there. That's where I'm at with that one. I don't know. Okay, for the episode, those unaware of the NHI presence are living in a fantasy / ring camera alien contest ended in 2023. I asked this question: are you living in a fantasy where non-human intelligent beings don't exist? 22 votes so far with 23 days left. 5 people, or 22.7%, say yes. What a shame. What a shame you're living in a fantasy. I'm very, very sorry for you. I'm very sorry for you. The majority of people, 17 or 77.3%, say no. The answer is no. The answer is no. I mean, that's where you want to be. I know there's some of you out there, you're not there yet. But let me tell you something. There's something here with us. In addition to you, there's something that's more intelligent than human beings here on this planet. I don't know what they're doing. I could tell you this: they have the ability to make themselves invisible at times. They abduct people sometimes and take them in and do different kinds of things to them when they're on board, different sorts of procedures and whatnot. They do that. They mutilate cattle and suck out the blood of these creatures. A lot of times, animals for some reason. Cut off parts of animals. They do that. They're all over the place. They play cat and mouse with our military. Militaries of the world. There's nothing anybody can do about it. They're here. I'm sorry to tell you. I'm really sorry. If you didn't believe this, right, I'm really sorry to inform you that you're wrong. It's time that you open your eyes. Snap out of it. The government ain't going to hold your hand with this one. I'm sorry. They have their own reasons. Anyway, I just want to say this. I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.